Dear Heavenly Father, as the first light of dawn breaks through the horizon, the world awakens to a new day filled with opportunities, challenges, and the quiet promise of God's unending presence. This moment is sacred, a time to pause, reflect, and invite the Creator into our lives. With hearts open and minds still, we turn to His Word, drawing from its timeless wisdom and comfort. Today, we meditate deeply on the messages of Psalm 91, Psalm 23, and Psalm 70. These sacred texts, each unique in their depth and promise, are a source of strength and guidance for those seeking God's protection, provision, and deliverance. Psalm 91 begins with a profound declaration. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. These words carry a promise of divine refuge. To dwell in the secret place of the Most High is to live in constant communion with God, to rest in the knowledge of His sovereignty and love. Imagine, for a moment, the shadow of a great mountain providing shade and shelter to those beneath it. This is how God's presence surrounds us, shielding us from harm and granting us peace. This morning, we are invited to step into that shadow, to find rest and renewal in His care. As we continue through Psalm 91, we encounter assurances that are both comforting and empowering. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. These words remind us of God's role as our deliverer. Life is filled with snares, temptations that seek to ensnare us, challenges that threaten to overwhelm us, and fears that linger in the corners of our minds. Yet, God promises to deliver us from every one of them. He does not merely observe our struggles from a distance. He steps into our circumstances, covering us with His feathers and sheltering us under His wings. His truth becomes our shield and buckler, a defense against the fiery darts of the enemy. The psalm speaks vividly of God's protection, even in the face of overwhelming odds. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. These words are a testament to God's ability to safeguard His children, no matter how dire the circumstances. As we meditate on these promises, we are reminded that our safety does not depend on human strength or earthly resources, but on the unfailing power of the Almighty. His angels are commanded to watch over us, to bear us up in their hands, and to keep us from stumbling. This is the assurance we carry into our day, that God's protection is ever-present and unfailing. Moving from Psalm 91, we turn our hearts to Psalm 23, one of the most cherished passages in the Bible. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. These words resonate deeply, reminding us of God's role as our provider and guide. Just as a shepherd tends to his flock, ensuring their safety, nourishment, and rest, so does God care for each of us. He knows us by name, understands our needs, and provides for us in ways we cannot always see. The imagery of green pastures and still waters evokes a sense of peace and restoration, a reminder that God leads us to places of refreshment and renewal. In the midst of life's busyness, we often forget the importance of rest. Yet, Psalm 23 gently reminds us that God leads us to stillness, to moments where our souls can be restored. He does not rush us through life but walks with us, guiding us along paths of righteousness for His name's sake. And when we face dark valleys, those moments of fear, loss, or uncertainty, we are assured that we are not alone. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. God's presence is not confined to the mountaintops. It accompanies us through the valleys, bringing comfort and strength. As we reflect on the promises of Psalm 23, we are reminded of the ultimate hope it offers. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is the promise of eternity, a life spent in the presence of God, where goodness and mercy are our constant companions. This morning, as we meditate on these words, let us embrace the peace and assurance they bring, trusting that God's care is steadfast and His love unending. Our journey through the Psalms brings us to Psalm 70, a heartfelt plea for God's deliverance. Make haste, O God, to deliver me. Make haste to help me, O Lord. These opening words capture the urgency of human need. There are moments in life when we are overwhelmed, when the weight of our circumstances feels unbearable, and we long for immediate rescue. Psalm 70 reminds us that it is okay to cry out to God with urgency, to call on Him in our time of need, trusting that He hears and responds. This psalm is not just a cry for help. It is a declaration of faith. By calling on God, the psalmist acknowledges His power and willingness to save. As we meditate on these words, we are reminded that God is our refuge in times of trouble, our ever-present help in times of need. No matter how desperate our situation may seem, we can trust that God is with us, ready to deliver and guide us to safety. As we conclude this time of prayer and reflection, let us carry the messages of these psalms in our hearts. Psalm 91 reminds us of God's protection, a shield against the trials and dangers of life. Psalm 23 assures us of His provision, a shepherd who leads us to peace and restoration. And Psalm 70 calls us to trust in His power to deliver, a God who responds to our cries for help. This morning, as we step into the day ahead, let us do so with confidence and faith, knowing that we are not alone. God's presence goes before us, His angels surround us, and His love sustains us. Take a moment to breathe in this truth, to let it fill your heart and mind. Whatever challenges or opportunities this day may bring, face them with the assurance that you are held in the hands of the Almighty. In conclusion, the timeless wisdom and comfort of Psalms 91, 23, and 70 remind us of God's unwavering presence in our lives. These scriptures speak to the heart of every human experience, from moments of fear and uncertainty to those of peace and reassurance. They invite us to place our trust in God, our protector, provider, and deliverer, and to walk each day with the confidence that He is with us. Psalm 91 is a profound reminder of God's protective care. It assures us that those who seek refuge in Him will find safety under His wings, guarded by His angels and shielded by His truth. No matter how overwhelming the challenges we face, God's power and presence remain steadfast. This psalm calls us to live in the secret place of the Most High, resting in the shadow of the Almighty and trusting in His promises. Psalm 23, often regarded as the shepherd's psalm, paints a vivid picture of God as a loving guide who leads us to green pastures and still waters, restoring our souls. Even in the darkest valleys, His presence comforts us, assuring us that we are never alone. This psalm beautifully illustrates the journey of life, where God provides for our needs, protects us from harm, and promises us eternal joy in His house. It is a source of hope and peace, reminding us that God's goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives. Psalm 70 shifts our focus to the urgency of human need and the immediacy of God's deliverance. It is a heartfelt cry for help, reflecting the moments when we feel overwhelmed and in desperate need of God's intervention. This psalm reassures us that it is not only acceptable but encouraged to call on God in our times of trouble. It reinforces our faith in His ability to respond, reminding us that He is always near to save. As we reflect on these scriptures, we are reminded of the depth of God's love and the breadth of His care for us. They encourage us to begin each day with faith, to carry His promises in our hearts, and to face life's challenges with the assurance that we are never alone. No matter where we are in our journey, God's protection, provision, and deliverance are ever present. Let us embrace these truths, walking forward in the light of his love and grace, ready to face each day with hope and inspiration.